Okay, so this is our third appointment. Science cafes in this project are meant to dive deeper into some of the aspects that are connected with social innovation for responsive environments. What we are trying to do is to tackle the most compelling issues in this domain. And this appointment, this third edition, will be focused on the challenges and the solutions for SHAFE implementation. And we will hear ideas and experiences from the City of Rotterdam with our guest speaker, Dr. Anthony Polychronakis, who is a European Liaison Officer for Health and Social Policies at the Department of Social Development in the City of Rotterdam. So thank you very much, Anthony, for being here with us today and for accepting the invitation. His expertise is mainly on international relations and European funding. This is the domain in which he works right now for the City of Rotterdam. But he is a senior policy advisor who has also experience in domestic violence and elder abuse, and he contributed to founding the European Family Justice Center Alliance. Dr. Anthony Polychronakis will outline the main challenges related to the implementation of smart, healthy, and age-friendly environments. So we will see what he has, the lessons learned he has from his experiences in the municipality of Rotterdam. Just to give you a brief overview of today's agenda, after this very brief introduction, I will give the floor to Miriam, who will give us a brief overview of the project, SIRENE, and then we will hear from Anthony, on the main topic of today's Science Cafe. And then we will have a 10-minute Q&A session where, of course, you are welcome to ask anything, any curiosity you might have on the speech of our speaker. But before giving the word to Miriam, I would kindly ask all the participants here to fill in the poll that Vuk will activate in a short time here in Zoom, where we just wanted to ask you some very general information about you to get to know our participants better. So the country where you are from, the organization you work in, and your area of expertise. So please, just in a few minutes, you'll be able to fill in the poll, and then we will start.
Okay, for some reason it doesn't allow me to start the poll now, so we can do that at the end. We can continue with Miriam until I figure it out why it doesn't want to work now. It worked 10 minutes ago. So
okay,
Miriam,
no
continue,
worries.
please. Yeah.
Yes, just a few seconds that I'm going to open the presentation. Okay. Just sorry.
Francesca, I also have it open if you prefer for me.
Okay. Well, if you can share it, it's better maybe. Thank you.
No problem at all. Then let me share. Let me put this in full screen. Okay, shake your heads if you see it full screen. Someone? Yes, I see a dialogue. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So welcome everyone in name of the SIRENE coordination team. I'm not the project coordinator, Karina Dantas is. She is this moment in Greece, and she sends her apologies. Oh, I hear my echo now. For a second, I don't know. Someone is.
It's fine. It's fine
yeah?
now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I'll just very, very briefly tell you something about the SIRENE project. If I look at the attendance list, most people are already very familiar, so it will be just 5 minutes, not 10. I give more time to our speaker. It's more important. So SIRENE is a 2-year horizon project, a CSA, coordination and support action. We are, I would say, 3 quarters, no, not 3, a bit over the half of the project. So in the first year, we started building the foundations for, and actually I will go immediately, for the 5 components of the social innovation framework that you can see, as well as the digital tools, the SIRENE repository and the SIRENE digital and expert hub. And this year we are consolidating, we will be validating and doing a lot of events, because what we want, of course, is that we build is known and is used by innovators, by actors in the field of SHAFE. And that is only possible with our very broad network of experts. We have currently 57 experts from representing the all EU 27 and 5 other countries. If you are already there, great, engage with us, engage in SIRENE Hub in all the sessions. If not, or if you think there are colleagues that would benefit from this network and should be involved, please direct them to the SIRENE project website. We have an open call for experts running until the end of the project. As I said, this year we will engage with experts in many different ways. So tell us about your ecosystems, and if you want to be an ecosystem tester or early adopter in the context of ecosystems, I can tell you our next event after this one will be on the 20th of February, hosted by the ECH Alliance on learning from the best, establishing an ecosystem, highly recommended, and provide materials and share to the repository and hub. And I promised that was my last slide. So I pass the floor back to Francesca first.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you for this overview. And well, now let's hear from our guest speaker, Anthony, his presentation on the challenges of implementation of SHAFE. So I'm going to share your presentation, Anthony. I think that the poll has started, sorry, off topic. Just see the pop-up, yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so please, Anthony, the floor is over to you. Oh, we cannot hear you, Anthony. I think you're muted.
Yes, sorry, you can hear me now probably clearly. Is that correct?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Woek, Miriam, Francesca, for having me here. As I don't have much time and you already did my introduction on me personally, I will skip that part. And I will talk the half an hour I have about the challenges we are facing regarding implementation of projects. In this case, particularly the SHAFE project. But as I previously already said to Francesca, which I will discuss in this SIRENE Café, is that a good implementation actually starts with a good preparation in the starting phase. If the start of a project is not correct, not well, then you will see that you will have problems in your implementation, which are very difficult afterwards to solve. So there are actually 15 points which I discussed within my own department in the City of Rotterdam, which are important for a project and which I will discuss now. 15 important challenges of which we have to think. And for all these challenges, we have, of course, solutions, but we will not have the time today to discuss the solutions of these 15 challenges. Let me first start with the first point. The first point is when we start developing a project like SHAFE, we have to think about the societal problems. What is the problem we would like to solve? What is the problem with our citizens they are facing, which we would like to solve? It could be a problem regarding domestic violence. It could be a problem societal regarding good care of dementia patients. It can be related to youth problems or to alcohol. It can be. So we have to think about what is the real problem we would like to solve. The second thing is that we already would like to think of some solutions before we start working on a project. What are possible solutions for these problems to be tackled? So if we have a problem of loneliness, what are possible solutions? And what do we want to achieve? So if there is, for example, 20% of loneliness in our society, what do we want to achieve? Do we want to decrease it? How much do we want to decrease it? And what measures do we want to use for that? The third question regarding and challenge regarding the working on a project is the priority. What is the priority of the societal problem and the solutions we're thinking of? Is it a high priority, a middle priority, or a low priority problem? Because we have very limited time and resources to work on it. If you think about the priorities, then we also have to think on the fifth point, which is the time frame, the time and time management. So we also have to think about the timeline for our results, which means how much time do we need to tackle these problems, to achieve a result. For example, again, the problem of loneliness. If we have 20% loneliness and we want to decrease it with 5%, in how many years do we want to achieve this problem? Usually, our projects have a time frame from 3, 4, up to 5 years. And the problem is that in the local policy making and the local politicians, that time frame is often too long. As political elections are usually in most countries every 4 years on a national level or on a local level. And it means that ministers or local mayors or vice mayors, aldermen, they want to achieve in much faster timeline their results, which can be a problem for creating such a problem. So before we start building a project, we also have to think about these timelines and the local consequences of it politically. If we tackle all these questions, then the sixth one is, are there for our problem and for our solutions funding calls available? Can we find subsidies? Can we have a financial planning? Can we find a call which is suitable for our solution, in which we can find some extra money and knowledge available? Usually this isn't the biggest problem. Because my experience is that there are so many different calls that eventually you will always find something which is suitable for the solution of your problem. So the next slide, please, Francesca, if you want to go to the next one. So the seventh point of the 15 is the time we usually have between the project idea and the call. This is also a very important question, because if we find a call which is suitable for our solution, how much time do we have up until the deadline to achieve and to manage this project proposal? Sometimes it is too narrow. Sometimes it is too far away in the future, especially regarding horizon calls, which are already published a few years ahead. So this is also an important point to look after. If we find a suitable call, then the eighth point would be how much amount of money is necessary for the development of such a project to develop the results we would like to achieve. So how much money is available? And also, what is the co-finance of the money? Can we find the necessary money we need to put in ourselves in order to create such a project? The ninth point I would like to stress is the one you see here. The first point on the slides is the 9 points of my 15 points, is the chance of success of the call. I think that's also a very important one, as some calls have very high success rates like the Erasmus Plus projects. However, an Horizon Europe project, for example, the last one I did had only a success rate of 5.4%. It means that from 100 submitted proposals, only 3 to 4 will be financed. So it can be a lot of work for nothing. So the success rate and risk management of your project proposal is also a very important point to look at. And of course, all these points are later on important for a good implementation of your project, like SHAFE. The 10th point, which we have to look at, which is also very important later on for the implementation, is once we have a good priority and high priority problem defined, we have possible solutions, we have a good call with high success rate, we have found the amount of money. Which partners do we need in the process to work with? Which partners, which business partners, which university partners, which local governments do we need to fulfill this project? And this is a very important question for the implementation, as it is not only a functional decision. I mean, it is not only that, okay, we have this software company, so it can build websites, it can build illuminate, so we will work with them. It is also a matter of personal connection between your partners. Are these partners trustful? Do they deliver besides the knowledge they have? Can you work reasonably and good with them? Do they have a good character? Are they good speakers in English? All these questions are very important later on for a successful implementation of your project. The 11th point is the support base, as I call it, and engagement. It means before we start writing a proposal and having found our partners and the call, it is also very important to have the support of our superiors. And I mean not the superiors only of the consortium of your collaboration, but also of your own organization. It means, do you have support of your politicians? Do you have support of your directors and managers? Do you have support in the low base of the people who have to do the work and the middle management? If one of these lines don't support a project, we will have a problem in the implementation later on. What usually happens is that there is a support on the top level, on the legal representative. So we have covered the signature, we have covered our directors, our high managers. But when there is a problem with the middle management and the staff, you will later on have a lot of difficulties in the implementation of your project. So it is also a challenge for us in all these levels to have as full support as possible. It's not always possible, but for example, in my case, I sometimes need support of 6 managers above me. To give you an example, with big organizations, huge organizations, you have this huge bureaucracy with multiple layers. The 12th point is the necessary capacity to execute the project. It means that, do you have the staff and the personnel to carry out your innovation, your project? Is there enough capacity available? It's not only a question of funding. Can you find enough funding to hire people, but do you also have the people available? Can you find them? Can you allocate them to the project? The 13th point is, who is going to be the project manager? Who's going to run the project? It's a very important question, because for a high innovative project, or for a project as SHAFE, which is interconnected with quite a high complexity and a level of innovation with many partners involved, it is very important to have an experienced project leader somebody who is engaged in the consortium, who has also a lot of empathy, but who can also be quite strict on managing the project. It's a combination of different skills, and it's also highly important for a good success rate of the implementation later on in your project. The 14th point I would like to discuss is if we are eventually in this stage that we have answered all these 13 previous points, then the 14th point is who is going to write the proposal. It doesn't mean that the one who is the leader is necessarily also the writer of the proposal. It usually is, but it's not always the case. It could be that a good manager of a project is not necessarily always the best writer. So what we usually do is that we have specific writers for project proposals, or if it's highly innovative, we need to work closely together with professors of universities to support us, or the one who can hire a committed PhD on the innovative proposal. The last one is, of course, then the implementation itself, with all the challenges involved in the management and the implementation of your project. But I believe that if the 14th previous point that I mentioned in this short speech, if you manage all these points well, and if you think about it clearly before starting your project, then it will be much more easier after carrying out the project and implementation of the project to tackle all the involved problems you encounter during your project and the running of the project. So these are the 15 points so far. And I think we probably still have some time for some questions, or also to think about some of the solutions available.
Yes, we still have 20 minutes. So now I think we can open the Q&A session. Of course, if you have any curiosity, question, doubt regarding these 15 points Anthony just talked us about, you're welcome to pose any of these, and we of course have time to dive deeper into the solutions. So I'm going to interrupt in sharing so I can see you. There are any hands up. Don't be shy.
Oh, I have a question to Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could not find the hands up so quickly. So, but I was willing. I was wondering. You mentioned that indeed the election cycle of 4 years, what is current in the Netherlands, and I know that also politicians are most interested in the quick wins. How do you do this as a policy officer at Rotterdam? How do you arrange that with politicians in your municipality?
Yes, so this is indeed a very important question, Willeke. Thank you for asking it. It is one of the most important points also for a local government, I mean. Indeed, the cycle is only 4 years. So what you see is that politicians want to have quick wins within 1 or 2 years. They come up with very quick solutions, which are not suitable for European projects, because for a European project and a good innovation, we need much more time. And we also need trial and error. And also an error is usually a big problem in a political environment. What we do, luckily, is that we, besides the political elections, we have our civil servants, our permanent staff. They are not changed after the election, like a sports system in the US or in Greece, where they have bigger problems. But in the Netherlands, we keep our professionals in the office, and they produce long-term visions of, let's say, 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Usually not 30 years. I don't think they can go that far, but usually we have, you know, these vision programs of 10 years ahead, which overlaps the political cycle of 4 years. And in these visions of 10 years, for example, for a healthier lifestyle of our population, with less diabetes, less cardiovascular problems, cleaner air, reducing the risk of climate change. These have a longer term, and on these longer term programs, we can project our EU project proposals that support us and helps us enormously.
Would it also be helpful if we write in the proposals also the quick wins or something like that? That you have, for instance, on short-term solutions. Perhaps it also helps with the reviewers or something. Right?
And it's not always possible, I think, because let's say if there is a politician and he wants to have a polyclinic for elderly in the city within 1 year, then we already need a year for the writing of a proposal. So it is then no use to mention it if you already started such a procedure or a new idea. Because once they want to have a quick win, you have directly to run after it and start the implementation. And it's then already too fast for our proposal. But sometimes you can mention that we already worked on something and which we can further develop within a project proposal. That is possible, of course, Willeke. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Anthony and Willeke. Yes, Miriam, please go ahead.
Oh, I think there was another hand raised.
There's you first, Miriam.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. I have a question. So in terms of European Horizon projects, let's say, you see often, or at least more often, municipalities, public administration from the Netherlands and Northern Europe, and not so much from Southern Europe. What I understand, I come from Portugal, so I understand. But do you have some tips on how to break this? So if we want to involve, for example, municipalities from Southern Europe, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, do you have any tips and tricks on how to reach, or who are the people that we should engage?
I'm sorry, I don't clearly understand your question. Is your question that the Southern European partners are not so much involved as partner or as leader?
No, not the partners, but let's say municipalities, for example, public administration, public governance are not so much involved. At least that's my experience.
Yes. Well, it is not completely my experience because I work a lot in Portugal, almost everywhere, in Viana do Castelo, in Coimbra, Sintra. I worked almost with more than 100 municipalities in Portugal. But in general, this is not a real Northern Southern European problem. If I look in the Netherlands, there are maybe the 4 big cities and maybe 10 cities very active in European proposals. And I live in a city in the Netherlands where I was also a politician for 8 years, elected member. It's called Alphen aan den Rijn.
Okay, I lived in the Netherlands and I don't know it.
No, but it's a city of 110,000 people, and I tried for 8 years to involve them in EU projects, and they were not willing to.
Okay.
So you can imagine how difficult it is for some cities to involve. And I know Treviso is much smaller, but they are very, very active. So yeah, I think I don't agree with the fact that there is such a big difference. But there are cities and municipalities which are not participating, and I don't know why that is. In my city, for example, there was a belief that my city found itself too small, with 110,000 people, to be involved in EU projects. And I always try to convince them it has nothing to do with being small. It has to do with your own mindset. How do you want to be enough? Do you want to work internationally or not? I think that's more the question. And of course, the staff, because that sometimes in Portugal is a problem, they have to speak very well English. Also write English very well. And that is sometimes a bigger problem in the south than in the north. I think in the Netherlands, almost everybody speaks very fluently Dutch and English, I mean. So this is one of the handicaps of some cities and countries.
If I may, hi, this is Maddalena Ilaria. I just wanted to comment on this. I think there is also a reason of sustainability, because one thing is to sustain by itself on the side of a municipality the participation of an international project. On the other side is the sustainability of participating in a European project when you are into an ecosystem, because it's not all on your shoulders and the work is facilitated. The municipalities are not well equipped, neither if they are big or small. They are often not well equipped to support all the activities that are needed to take full advantage of the opportunities of being in a European project. So I think we should probably make an effort and increase the awareness of the opportunities of consistently work in international activities through active participation into ecosystems, partnerships, and other things. Because you can create a local alliances that facilitate the exploitation of the results. You know, at the end of the day, for the small municipalities or for municipalities, it's very hard to find an immediate impact from European projects. So unless you are supported by a team that drives you across the exploitation time, that is often longer than a single project, it's very hard for them to see the return.
Yes, I totally agree, Maddalena. But I mostly agree with what you're saying for the small municipalities. While in my example, I work for City of Rotterdam. I think the City of Rotterdam with 10,000 civil servants is very well equipped. We have a lot of lawyers, a lot of EU experts. We are a chain manager of the region of Rotterdam, which is 2.2 million people. So we are the most equipped partner to manage all these ecosystems better than some companies are. But for a small municipality and a middle municipality, that is almost impossible. They don't have specialized staff. They don't have the knowledge, the expertise. So they have especially these big problems you're referring to. I agree with that, and also for the sustainability.
I also agree with you that it's sometimes a problem also for big municipalities to join, unless they are equipped with a system like the one you described for Rotterdam. It's a matter of maturity. If the municipality is mature and they understand that there is a return of participating in European projects, they make an effort. But sometimes there is a gradient, north-south in Europe, so you don't have the awareness of the politicians that creating this kind of staff is an investment for the municipality, be it medium, small, or large. So sometimes even big municipalities are not like Rotterdam.
No, that's true. That's true. But also in Italy, I mean, if you look at Milano, if you look even the big cities in the north, like Padua, they are quite well equipped. But I also agree that if you look at Palermo or if you look at Naples, they are much less equipped to do this kind of projects. So I agree with you that it has also not necessarily all big cities are equipped to have this role.
In our case, in the southern cities, there is another problem. You have competitive calls, national calls, or indirect European funding. Even if they have a staff, the staff has competing calls at the national, local level that absorb all the resources. So even if they are equipped, they don't have the time to focus on a European project that can drive the national or indirect European funds. So you cannot manage to close the circle, and you don't connect the national and the indirect funds with the direct funds. That's a gap, the internal competition of human resources for projects.
Yes, this is one of the points of the 15 points I mentioned, the capacity available.
Yeah, exactly.
That is all over a problem also for my city, that although we are big, we also have a certain amount of staff which are already competitive on the Dutch calls and the Dutch available funding. And it is sometimes even hard to involve them internationally. That is a very recognizable problem. I agree with that, Madalena, certainly.
I don't know, maybe Adele was first and then Sylvia. I remember
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Francesca, and thank you, Anthony, for your interesting and detailed presentation. And well, you highlight how it is fundamental to receive support when it comes to the implementation of activities or projects. And I was wondering, based on your experience in the city of Rotterdam, what is the position, let's say, of policymakers, of decision makers when it comes to the implementation of age-friendly, environment-oriented initiatives? Do they support innovation in this sector, which is the position of the city of Rotterdam with regards to this specific domain?
Yes, I can try to explain it a little bit. So, first of all, in the age-friendly environment, also active aging is part of it, and elderly policies. In the elderly and disabled policies, the city in the Netherlands is responsible for all the citizens living at home. So all the citizens should be able to live independently at home. If they encounter problems, the city is responsible to fund and to find solutions and to fund solutions. For example, if you are in an age-friendly ecosystem in Rotterdam and you live in a house and you get a little bit ill temporarily, then the city is organizing transportation for you. The city is organizing the bathroom or housing adaptations, as we call it. The city is providing home care services for you temporarily. So you will be able to live independently. Once you get more ill, structural ill, and you need a nursing home, that is not the responsibility of the city. It's the responsibility of national funding. Nursing homes, they are nationally financed. So the city has, first of all, these responsibilities. Second responsibility is chain management. It means that the city is able to have these policymakers, they make a policy plan, let's say about loneliness, and they can fund in the city nursing homes, hospitals, volunteering organizations to support the city plan. So they can make for the whole city policies, for example, that we have more spaces in the city where people can have coffee. So we can fund the library to open a few rooms and make a campaign for people to come in. So these policies can be financed and organized by the city for all of the city. That is what the policymakers are doing actually in this age-friendly environment.
Thank you.
Sylvia, please go ahead. I think this will be the last question. Just have, okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Anthony, for your intervention. I just wanted to ask, because we have been discussing about the European projects, and that is at last that is public funding. But when we go to private funding or private initiatives, do you have any experience in the municipality of Rotterdam? Now that you have said that let's say the municipal services have the commitment to ensure that all the citizens can age at home and so on, when private companies or private initiatives go to the municipality, how does it work? I mean, is there interest? There is a market for that in the city of Rotterdam or in the Netherlands? How is it working?
Yes, well, in this field, I'm not an expert, but I know few things about it. First of all, the Netherlands is a social democratic society. It means that the state is very strong. So it is almost communistic, but it is not a communism, but it's very strong. It's one of the strongest welfare states in the world, together with Scandinavia. It means that the state is very powerful. It means that there are historically not many options and possibilities for private funding, as the state is organizing a lot of things. So usually this Calvinistic society is that the state is organizing everything from your birth, we call it from the wieg, to your grave, to your graf. That's a typical Dutch expression. So state funding is more related to liberal states like the United States and England, where they have more tradition of less government, powerful government, and more private funding. So in the US, you have a lot of golf competitions for billionaires where they collect money to support poor children, for example, which we don't do in Europe usually. However, there has been a change of a paradigm shift that they're also thinking more about using private funding, which is an important question you ask. One of the things is that we have this PPE, so the public-private funding projects that we cooperate with. For example, a new highway shouldn't be financed 100% by the state. We provide the land, we provide the licenses, etc., and it can be financed privately, and they can have the benefits of such a highway. So this is in usual the most normal way to use private funding in public affairs. Lately, however, we have encountered that private funding could also be used for social means. And this is an area which is historically difficult for the Netherlands, as we are a welfare state, and the state organizes everything and pays everything out of taxes. For example, in Rotterdam, we have a few years ago, a very rich family, a billionaire family. They provided the city the idea of using their money for social benefits. I mean, for social innovation. So the city was thinking about our mayors, vice mayors, how can we use this private money into a fund, a private fund, so they created a kind of private fund from billionaires' money to use for social innovation. So they are working in this field, but it's difficult and it's not usual that the Netherlands does. For example, if I want to start an awareness campaign, it is not easily allowed or doable to ask Coca-Cola to make a campaign with its name and a banner on social policy to fund our awareness campaign on loneliness, for example. So we don't use it in that way so far.
And for example, in initiatives like not so much on private companies that are focusing on economic benefit, but for example, initiatives of cooperatives or people that wants to launch a co-housing or something like that, you know, like with a social approach coming from people, but not something that they want to organize or whatever, people that is organizing to create a building where they can live together or things like that. So it's private because it's launched by themselves, but is not organized by the state because it has nothing to do with that. I mean, because yes. I understand, as you say, it's because probably everything that is expected to achieve a benefit, economic benefit for a private company is quite strange in the Netherlands because of the kind of political line they have. But if it comes from groups of people?
Yes, that happens a lot. But we call it a stichting or a foundation where volunteers or citizens can come together, make a board, and use their resources in manpower, in money, to achieve public goals. For example, the housing sector in the Netherlands is maybe in Rotterdam for 50 or 60% organized like that. So it means that the state has supported semi-private, we call it semi-private organizations. So they are private organizations, but they don't have necessarily a benefit to increase their money, but just to stay flat even. And they built a lot of social houses in the city, for example, for the poor people. This is one example of such a foundations that are working. Almost all the rented houses are built by these organizations, semi-private housing corporations, we call them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the questions. Thank you, Anthony, for your presentation today. I think we can all agree it was very inspiring and stimulating, even also the discussion we had thus far. So let me remind you of the next capacity building webinar that will be held on the 20th of February. Stay tuned for more information on this with our social media account and the website. And thank you again for today and have a nice day.
Yes, we have just one more thing to do. We'll launch a short poll just to gather some information. Tajana can launch the poll, so we solve that mystery. She will do that in 1 minute.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Can you see it?
forgetting.
Sorry, Francesca. Can you
Yeah.
see the poll now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thank you very much again. It has been a pleasure. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.